Picture this, it's 6 a.m., you're already drowning. Your inbox has 47 unread messages, mostly AI-related newsletters that come in. You keep in your inbox just in case. Half of them are things that you mean to read and hope to get around to. You also have 23 browser tabs open. You have ChatGPT, you have Claude, you have Perplexity, you have 3 other tools that you are trying out and evaluating, in quotes on that. Your team has sent you a number of Teams messages, Slack messages, going, what AI do I use for this use case? What AI should we be using for this use case? Oh, and did anybody cancel the trial because this just stopped working all of a sudden? And I think we're being billed twice for this. If this sounds like your organization and when you're in the throes of projects, then this is the right place for you. Let's talk about how we get a handle on the AI spew of tools right now. It is something we hear a lot. So let's talk about some of the history of some of these AI tools. 8 months ago, when we were talking about and kicking off the predecessor of this particular series of recordings, AI was really, we talked a bunch about just OpenAI. ChatGPT 4.0, was it which version, held the throne as the top slot. Everything we focused on was around building agents and around using ChatGPT. Claude was an innovator when it came to generating text. Today, Gemini is kind of the top of the heap. I mean, it's early December 2025. Many of the others are now playing catch up to Gemini. They didn't see what was coming from them. They, as we fast forward and look at what 26 is going to look like, it's crazy to think about what has changed in just the last even couple of months with AI. Tools that we had kind of written off and not thinking about, like Gemma and some of the Gemini tools. Grok, we have Grok 3 coming, which has got a lot of potential out there. We also see models growing very fast. Keep an eye on the China's DeepSeek. That's one that is learning off of our U.S. models. Not a fan of that, but they are training this DeepSeek V3 tools and beyond based off of having our AI engines teach their AI engines what to do. So that's allowing them to train and build up those models for pennies on the dollars. And I think that's something you're going to have to see here on more of the LLMs happening here on the US ones. And now let's also look at the number of tools. Let's look at Matt Wolf's Future Tools and AI Exploria. They've got like 10,000 tools out there. I'm not endorsing either one of those. If I were to endorse one, it'd probably be Matt Wolf's product over there. But there are a lot of tools that have come on the market. So the shift in AI power is moving a lot, especially when it comes to some of these smaller tools. We're also seeing now AI tools. Let's take like a coding tool. You'll see Cursor, that now there's a company called Giga who has written a tool to take the coding tool Cursor, put Giga on top of it to manage it, and now Cursor is now using multiple different AIs. So that is one of those things that we need to keep an eye on is these tools that are being written to augment the deficiencies in another set of tools. So what does this really mean for corporate environment? You probably live in the pain, and what you don't want to do is keep living the pain, because what we have seen, especially when it comes to mid-sized companies, I can throw you the extreme out there, which was a $5 million project out of a California-based company that has been in an overload and had to pull back the reins on a very big project that we were just talking with their management on Friday. Sanford has put together some information about how teams of about a 3 to 5 person group is able to use tools properly and save a small team, 3 to 5 people, up to $200,000 a year by deploying the tools right. 75% of the companies, that's 25% of the businesses, are able to get that. 15 to 25% are able to get gains of like 200,000. I will say here at WTE, we're able to get a lot of those type of returns. We're seeing great returns by using AI tools, but 75 to 85% of the businesses out there are in what I'm going to call tool sprawl. That means that they are subscribing to around 15 AI apps and are trying to get the return on investment by spending a lot of this money. And what you also have to watch is how you're using the AI and what you're putting to it. It is one of those things that we were negotiating with our accounting department, a client who's using a bunch of AI tools, and are seeing, wait a minute here, these tools are costing us a lot more per month than we think. It's great, we're getting good usage out of it, but do keep in mind that if you are heavily using their particular tool set and team is using what was expected to be hundreds of dollars worth of AI usage, is now looking more like $10,000 a month in AI usage. Great, they're getting lots of savings, they're paying for it, but it was one of those costs that the accounting department accounted for the cost savings, but they didn't account for the fact there was also spin up costs and ingestion costs and costs to get things going. So what you're looking at here is also the cost when you switch, when going. So a lot of the time, it's not a one-for-one cost, but it's about a 40% cost redo that you have. If you do swap out one tool to another, you're going to get better activity out of it, but you also have that cost that you're going to have to sink into it. The other thing that we have noticed is that a lot of companies are not auditing the AI stack. And that is what happened while we had this usage. Also from Stanford and their research reports, 85% of the companies out there are not auditing what all is in their AI stack. Is it being used efficiently? And what are they missing? So the average enterprise, from their research, our research kind of correlate on that, is that every organization is typically spending about $2,400 in additional AI licensing and expenditures that you don't need to be spending. So keep an eye on that. That is one of those things you want to make sure that you're doing properly. So that's what we're covering tonight. Tonight we're going to cut through the noise. I'm Eric Garrison. Over the past couple of quarters, we've pressure tested stacks across 50 approximate enterprise organizations that we've touched, from the scrappy startup to Fortune 500 ops teams. We've been lucky enough to work in them. A lot of the ones that we talk to are also private equity backed. Many of them are in healthcare and fintech. What we are finding, what wasn't something that was emerged on a list, come across our desk, we're able to take those tools, we're able to battle test them early and figure out what works, what doesn't work, and to help with that overload and reclaim your edge. So by the end of this hour, what I'm hoping is that you've got some of the same tools and knowledge that we have that I'm going to transfer from my head and my team to you. Let's dive in. Let's map the 2025 terrain as we go into 26. This is really how we're anticipating we're going to be saying for January 2026. Make sure you're not running last year's playbook. What I saw a lot of organizations do is at this time last year, they were writing the budgets they're going to put in for this tool. I can't tell you how many companies went to their board exactly 12 months ago, asked to get monies to go into these particular initiatives, and then went and dove in and stayed too long on the path. So 8 months ago, 12 months ago, it was OpenAI GPT 4.0. Today, OpenAI is GPT 5. But what you've got are newer multimodal agents, and it's part of that you should be able to spend a lot less with what you're doing with OpenAI, not more. The reason is that if you can take your applications, use the mini models where they make place, use the full models where they do, you can see a 40% cost reduction. So make sure that you don't keep your baseline cost there the same, that you do get some added advantages there. We're thinking a lot right now about budget. So you're going to hear the dollar figures talked a lot here. Claude, very similar. Claude is good, but you might want to take a look at what is come out of Grok 3. The reason I'm going to say that, and I know a lot of people, X and Grok, but it has great internet access, where you also hear me talk. Perplexity is where our go-to was for internet access. Today, because of its smarts, its speed, cost, Grok has got real-time symmetric search. It also has a lot of trending data because it's reading all the data from Twitter and is really about 95% faster at some of this ideation and content creation. So we love Claude still, but think about if you're going into a high volume production, you might want to look at Grok to be the replacement for that. Gemini, which was early, it was garbage 8-9 months ago. We weren't even talking about it. Gemini for code today, Gemini 3 on the market, Gemini 2 Ultra, very good. It's great at doing reporting. So look at using Gemini for code and for reporting. It is a good go-to to be able to feed it data. I predict in 2026, it might be that we are talking about using RAG and having massive amounts of data sit in a Google Drive going into it. I really wish that Amazon was on this list. Amazon is not where I think they need to be. Microsoft and Azure, a little bit behind where they're going to be. So they're not on this top list. That is something to think about from the standpoint of cost savings, best value, and what you should be looking at. Perplexity. I just mentioned them a second ago. Perplexity was really my go-to for doing research, building reports. When I first started doing these type of webinars, it was my go-to to help me do research on this. It's falling behind. It is not keeping up with some of the internet content. You're able to tell it what to go fetch, but it's not able to keep up with the ingestion of it. So that's where I'm going to split and say Perplexity for that type of stuff, go to Grok. If you're looking to have it with the efficiency of Perplexity for what it was able to put together, think about the Chinese model DeepSeek for a good cost savings, but also running it local. So my 2026 is think about, can we get these models to do the open source, do a good fork of it that is secure, put it on a local LLM. So I ran a back of the napkin cost for a company with somebody who has got a massive amounts of data. And the big firm that quoted them to do it was about $100 million to read in all their data. What we came up with a back of the napkin type of situation here, that was going to take a long time. The RAG on it is really, really expensive. You could, for about 3 to 6 million, do exactly what they're going to do with off the shelf and run on local LLM. Because you have that predictable time and you don't have the token usage fees, it actually will save your organization a lot of money. So if you're a bigger organization or looking to make the bullet and get into ingesting a bunch of your data, do it securely, but also look at how you can use some local LLM on all of that. So the other thing we mentioned here, OpenAI is trying to claw back, and we do expect, they had their code red, we do expect some big things from them. We do think that GPT-5's agentic flows are coming about, but there are so many good now free options such as a Grok and a Gemini on the market, that these costs that you see and paying for these super high-end plans with OpenAI is becoming less important. We do pay for a decent plan with them and with Claude for doing certain automated tasks, but I do think in our own organization, we're going to be switching some of those up even in the near future. The real shift is definitely coming from open models and additional models. So we have seen a drop in the cost going to be able to run them, as well as the hardware cost to be able to run them, the increase in the number of tokens on them. So that is something to keep out there. That's really a paradox shift that we're seeing in the organization. And what that is driving is the tool sites we talked about, the 10,000 tools, because now you've got AI building the next generation of AI. So in the past, it had to go into research and it was all coders doing it. Now what you have is, out of the top 150 tools that were put out recently out there, 71 of them claim that the majority of the code was tuned by AI, not by hand development. So it's now the AI tuning itself. That's because the pros of AI are using AI to do what they do daily and to bring those costs down, as well as be able to get into it. Now, where that's causing a problem with us as the end user is the fatigue of which ones are really thought out. It's not just chatbots anymore. It's what application is pluggable into a good ecosystem, maybe comes with its own ecosystem. And that is what is very exciting, but also quite confusing. So that's one of those things that I think that you need to think about the use case of what you're looking for those tools and how you can bring it about. Definitely map out, whiteboard out what your use cases are. And that is going to get you your best advantage. So the research tools are the ones that that's where I'm going to think that you're going to want to target in for an organization, especially from the small to mid-size, being able to put together a good cohesive plan. You want to bring together what wasn't reasonable 6 months ago was to, let's say that I'm going to create a product for a particular industry. I want to crawl 500 websites and bring back information across these industry 500 sites, validate them, citate them, and pull together and give me a 40-page brief on these 500 sites. Jim and I can do that very easily today. We wrote a project that actually pulled and used a combination of Google technology, Google Places, Google API, and then we loaded that into one of our local LLMs to do the crunching of the data, the organizing of the data, and actually over a weekend crawled 4,000 sites. So bringing together research of you researching 500 competitor websites and locations. Let's say that you're a network and you want to look across the whole spectrum of who your competitors are. You can now do that. This is something that a consulting organization would normally cost and charge hundreds of thousands of dollars to do. Today, if you came to me with a project like that and said, I want you to give me this 40-page research, we're going to go across 4,000 websites, that's kind of higher end. The cost on that would be about $40,000. Yes, that's a little expensive. I hear what you're saying on that. But what is the outside consulting company going to do? That's going to be months worth of research. They're going to have a lot of time and human time into that. That is the same type of report that outside consulting company would have charged you $500,000 to write recently. So now using LLMs, using the ability to have a local LLM digest that information, or even an off-the-shelf one that's working efficiently, we're able to see those costs go down. Now, the other thing about this is, I want you to think about is, yes, that's $40,000 to write that. If you're writing these type of research models right, what you don't want to do is just take that 40-page brief. If you are one of my clients, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do is not just write that 40-page. We're going to create that 40-page as a dynamic data set that whether we're ingesting 500 websites worth of information or 4,000, we're going to be able to then do reiterations of it. So that means that what we're going to do is we're going to take that model and be able to rerun it, either to expand it or to get update or the changes, because it can be very little cost. Let's say $1,000 or $2,000 worth of compute time to now rerun those 500 sites. What you don't want to do is let that report just sit on the desk and get old and moldy. AI is perfect for telling you what has changed across those 500 sites. So think about this. If you're in an industry that you've got 500 people that you need to keep an eye on, whether those are our clients or competitors, it's a great way to use the technology now to be that, hey, did you see what happened? Are you following what our clients are doing? We see that quite frequently, that people are going, I really want to know what's going on with my clients. And this is a way to keep up with the news section on their website, their different areas, and then to be able to create that snapshot model, that report, and then run deltas on it. So that is not something that exists off the shelf today. So something somebody might want to go out there and create. But I want you to look at what tools you're using today and what problems are they actually solving and what insights are they giving you. AI tools, AI is not great at innovation. It's great at pulling together a plan. It's great together, taking together data, telling you what's different, massaging it, and running, basically creating the formulas for pivot tables and all that. What it's not good at is telling you where you're going. This is giving you, this pivot shifts the energy from the problem to possibility. I want to repeat that again. If you write these models and these research models, right, for your industry, you can pivot from the energy going into just the problem, looking at 500 competitors' websites, to the possibility, tracking and knowing what's going on with those competitors or clients. And this came about from a lead we consulted with a couple months ago. It was a Fortune 500 opportunity that came in, and in 2025, they admit they're buried in chaos. Their supply chain, and they needed intel on that supply chain very fast. The consultant quoted them $40,000 for the first 4 weeks that involved minimal AI. It was going to be a little bit of Gemini and a little bit of Perplexity agents. And the piece that was a problem, and they did go down this path, they didn't write the elements in it to watch for hallucinations. So you can guess where this was going. They didn't have the data massaging the true facts. It was making up what the person wanted to see. They gave a lot of information in the prompt. They did what most junior consulting groups are going to do in that. They're not going to write the validation. They didn't have any type of cross. So it brought up and said, this competitor has got X, Y, and Z. They go, oh, I've never heard of that. Well, that competitor doesn't exist. So that's where the hallucinations and the technology, you need to build that model and teach it and give it the type of data to mine on. So what we would do there is data mine and then do the analysis on the mining, not using the AI to do that direct out mining. We're going to tell it what to do. The other thing that I did notice that the consultants there and why we were brought in, they had 10 different tools and only 6 of them were talking to each other. So there were a number of these different tools that were not able to relay the information. And it was using Apollo and a couple other great tools that are very smart, but when they're not tied together properly, you're not going to get that correlation of the data. You're either going to get overlap or you're going to get bad data. Chasing 50 tools at a time, hoping one is going to be the silver bullet, the one that's going to make everything work properly in your organization. I want you to think a little bit different. Let's just start with a couple tools, not necessarily, a whole branch of tools, a whole bunch of them. Let's look at 3 tools and look at a couple of objectives. And then let's audit ruthlessly on this. This is building that framework that we want to do. This is something that like a McKinsey would do in an organization. So why don't we do that as part of what we're doing here? Let's set an objective, streamline operations. So objective 1 is going to be to streamline. The problem, repetitive tasks, tool sprawl, spending 6 hours a week on repetitive things that we could probably do in 6 minutes, trying to get that type of return. I would look at what can I get a 25% time reduction on some of these. So I would look at the research side of things. So that's where you're going to bring in those research tools, what we say like a Perplexity Pro to a Grok to some of these tools that help you to build that out and put your research and your data on autopilot. Maybe a Notion AI to be where you flow this into. And then I'm also look at make.com. So bring make.com into it so that you can do the step-by-step. I know we talk a lot about how we don't use it a lot because we blow it up here, but it is a great way to get things started. Zapier and Make, N8N's a little more techy, are great tools to get that type of workflow going. Think about how you can have a trigger that happens every day to pull in some research for your industry, then run it into a Notion book to make it managed. So think about this and see how you can save 6 hours a week to 8 hours a week to 10 hours a week to try to get that type of savings. Your ROI on that's going to be like 400% over the first month if you can get that, and then think longer term about a dashboard for that type of information to come into. So I would scan the market, see what I can do to make that work a little more efficiently. Then let's do something to help out your creative side of the house. The problem right now is that everybody is expecting AI to do everything instantly and perfectly and to do it for very low cost. It is causing a lot of AI fatigue because these tools are getting more complex because they're getting more feature set. and you've got too many tools with too little mastery, especially in my opinion, on some of these creative tools. So let's look at a lean stack here. I'm going to give you just a couple tools, and I hate to pick favorites, but I'm going to pick ones here I think they've got low cost and high return on investment. Look at Midjourney V7, I think is the current. So that's good visuals with text to be able to go over top of it, and it's able to give you stuff that doesn't look like a meme. It's going to give you better quality content for your people than you're going to have for these YouTube shorts and for things like Reels. Look at Runway Gen 3. So that's another good one to pull together. Now, I'm going to give you one more step of this creative, because creatives don't normally work with this tool, but I want you to think about implementing GitHub for the creatives, not to put their images into, put their prompts into. They can't remember what prompts are used 6 months ago, which are used to create the visuals. What is the numeric values that are used to create the right colors for the style guides? Put all of that into GitHub. Use GitHub Desktop, just a quick GitHub, $10 a month account. You can put some things into workflow. So as we talked about in the previous one, make.com can work into here. You can keep some of that together, but this is one of those things that you're going to get efficiency by giving the tools to be able to better store the prompts that were used and to add that automation. This is not where I'm looking for more ROI. I look for my creatives to give me 500% more assets out of the time that they're working. I want more creatives to come down, and I'm looking for a higher match to the style guide and the professionalism of them when it comes to looking at. So I work with a outside marketing agency that we work a lot of tech with back and forth. They have a great tool that's about $5,000 a month that is really good at replacing what is a big agency is able to do with using AI and using these tools. So if you're looking for something that's off the shelf and you're looking to enhance what a creative agency, it's kind of a blend between what we do on the tech side and what they do on the marketing. They used to write marketing campaigns and stuff for Apple, and now they take that expertise, put it into a tool set. My buddy Dustin over there, we work very collaborative with them on the technology. It's great, and it's a great way to think about how to get that lift in marketing without a huge amount of cost. $5,000 in comparison to what an agency charges. That would easily be $20,000, $30,000 worth of agency work out of that tool set that they bring in the knowledge base. The uncomfortable truth, 90% of adoptions failure isn't because of the wrong tool. Most people, the tools that they adopt are actually decent tools. It's about how they're adopted. They're also trying to adopt 10 things at once. We're going to plug this new CRM in. It's going to plug in with this AI. We're going to now go to this AI enhanced call center application. That's how companies lose $5 million very quickly. That's not a great way of doing it. I want you to think about 5 steps I'm about to go over, which I'm going to call my anti-overload tool. And for each one of these, we're going to do 3 things max. We're going to audit it quarterly. We're going to look at and not stay stringent, because this is a proof of concept, minimum viable product. What we're trying to do is pick a good tool, get return on investment for it, maybe evaluate if there's something better. But this is to shield us against the CEOs going, I found this great website with 10,000 AI tools. Which ones should we be picking? So let's look at how to do this and do a couple quick steps. Again, this is the Eric Garrison WTE 5-step anti-overload protocol. We'll go through this very quickly. First, we're going to audit. So week 1, we're going to do an audit. We're going to look at 5 workflows and flag the things can be fixed by no more than 3 tools. So we want to look at 5 things inside the organization that are easily, or not necessarily as easily, that are kind of those time sucks that we can automate. We're going to look at the top 3 of those 5. Is that the research silos? Is that going to be manual reporting? Is that going to be movement of files and forms? We're going to take one of those and map them that they could be something that's done agentically in the long term. And we can go deeper into that in a later segment to talk about what is really agentic. Step 2 is going to be the stress test. So this is where we're going to take those tools. We're going to have and try to use the free versions during our test phase here, whether that's a Grok 3 or Claude or whatever. We're going to try to use and see what we can do inside the free framework to know whether we are going to be able to scale this up. So we're going to run multiple tests. We're going to measure our baseline of how long it takes a human to do it, how long it takes on day 1, how long it takes on day 3 to use the automated process. We're going to log any error, any hallucinations. We're going to be very, very careful. We want to make sure that we're tuning the AI. And if we have hallucinations on day 1, don't pull the plug. Script for that. Tune it. Make sure it works. But don't put it out to production until you're ready for it to be out there. So what we don't want there to be is untracked errors. We want to track all of this. So that's very, very important. Step 3, this is going to be week 3, we're going to leverage built-in AI tools. So Microsoft O365, we've talked a lot about that. Copilot's very good. Utilize it for the team and get them using. Do some lunch and learn, some training of the built-in tools. That's a great way to do it. If you're on Google Workspace, then that's Gemini, same thing. And if you're dev teams, or as we were talking about creative teams, use a Code Copilot and figure out what are the things that you can do. I will say that out of some of the tool sets I just mentioned, like an OpenAI and Copilot, there is about 75% overlap in what they can do. If you find overlap that you're paying for, kill it off. Want to get those cost savings. So minimalism. This is going to be week 4. We're going to focus on some minimalism. So we're going to have a hard cap. We're going to look at 3 to 5 tools total, that we started off with. We're going to look to see, are they fitting those core objectives? We're going to master some daily routines, things that are taking those elements. So let's talk about even just like reading research on the competitors or reading emails or covering some internal information. Look at utilizing things. OpenAI has a great built-in piece to it that's going to be your voice. Grok has a great voice. So morning brainstorming with it where you're interacting, you'll be very impressed. Look at the core tools, whatever tool you're working with, and focus in on its core functionality, not the add-on. Don't worry about Dolly and all these other 10 things they're adding on. Get mastery and get your team mastering the core elements of a given tool like OpenAI. Then step 5 on this, we might be in month 2, month 3 at this point. It depends how it comes out. We're going to start looking at habit building. What are we able to hand off to the agents and be comfortable with being automatic and agentic? Watching things, posting things, reporting, alerting. Take some of these KPI elements that you do with different data and make it so that AI is summarizing what's going on. And the reason we want to do that is now we want to start looking at around month 2, month 3. We want to start doing hard ROI calculations. Our target, for our organization target, and what I like to hit, 300%. When we're spending time on a tool, we're looking to get a 300% ROI off of a investment that we put into place. We're normally, when it's stuff that we're doing or stuff we're doing for clients, we are talking thousands and thousands of dollars. So you're looking for a really good return on investment of it. Makes management happy, makes accounting happy. And it allows you to go into that next final piece, which is agentic exploration. What type things can we tie together and give us that secret weapon of what are the things that we can do and eliminate the noise in the organization by using these different tools. And cutting through the noise is a big piece of it. We want to use these tools where we can help triage the incoming emails, the incoming data, instead of chasing our competitor was doing yesterday. We want to monitor that and to give us so that we don't have to have 50 tabs open in our Chrome browser. We want to be able to have 3 tabs open, which are giving us the actionable data that we need. And the reason we do that is this sets us up for that growth multiplier. Now that we are talking about clearing the clutter, let's talk about acceleration. So growth isn't more tools. It's orchestrating agents to work in concert with each other. The stack multiplies 3x when the output is able to take and bring things together, and it works best when it's built on minimalism. The more complex your stack is, the more complex you're trying to address things, the worse it's going to be for trying to get that ROI. So that's where doing things such as integrating with your CRM is something you need to do, but you do it at the right point. Lead qualification inside your CRM is a great way to work on getting that type of ROI. So if I am working, the problem is going to be, let's say I need to help out the customer acquisition team. That's where I'm going to work into the CRM. I'm going to do lead qualification and pull in different elements of data, but I'm going to build that in a always on, because leads are always flowing in. It's not like we run this in batch. It's going to be an always on, always learning, always tuning type of situation. When we're talking about company data and data domain, we want to be able to feed it massive amounts of data to be able to do rapid prototyping and knowledge, and to curate information like we talked about, pulling in the data from 500 organizations. That is a different use case and a different mode and a different model. You can't use the same set of tools. That's why you need to bring the right tools in for the right type of organization. What is the output? Well, what we typically see, when you start lead scoring, you get 400% value lift out of the leads because you're getting rid of the ones that don't matter. I know our group does it quite a bit. We do it for our clients. There's always going to be those noisy leads and those dupe leads that take up a lot of time. If you're putting the right tools in for generative AI, you would expect 500% output. If you're putting in the tools for development, you're going to expect a 300% lift there. If you're looking to have ticket triage, what I look for, it's a huge number, but where we shoot for on this, in any type of model where we are taking and looking to automate something like work tickets, trouble tickets, support tickets, we shoot for 98% decrease in the response time, because we want to start that interaction and have the data. And that is one of those things that doesn't happen overnight. That's what you get at the 1 year mark, but it is something that you can strive for. That's really where it comes out. And the brutally honest truth on the industry is AI is spending $1 trillion, 1T, on infrastructure. It's a big bet that is leading to a lot of confusion. You are hearing about how these come and you're like, how are they spending all this money? Well, there is also a lot of reason for this. For the accounting people out there, they're rapid depreciating. They're taking the depreciation advantage of buying these GPUs and investing into it right now when they have some profits. They're building profitable models. It is building for the long term. But what they are very good about doing is selling it as an easy button. And people want to press that easy button. The thing that we are seeing is definitely in 2025, there's been a lot of failures. There's been a lot of big failures, but there's also been a lot of big winners. And what we take away is that the winners are the ones that are not using one tool. They're not using two tools. They're really using 3 to 5 tools. At the point where you're using 10 tools, you're using too many. At the point that you're using one tool, you're using too little. So what you don't want to do is get on the train following the hype. You want to follow what is going to match your business. Don't AI-fy everything. It's a trap. Target 20% of the tasks that are 80% of the gains. So it's that 80-20 rule. We all know that from business school. Update your stacks biannually at a minimum. So don't put it in and think you're running it for the next 3-4 years. You're actually going to have to make tuning and everything to it about every 6 months. So launch your MVP, run it, tune it, then plan on another 6 months down the road on making updates to it. Just like ChatGPT here 5 comes out and killed a lot of the tools that were on the market. It built in a lot of the things that were aftermarket tools. So by going with just that one tool, you can now replace a whole bunch of other tools. So think about that. The winners aren't using one particular AI. They're using less number today than they were, but they're using them better. So don't keep chasing just the bright shiny tool. And I know when you go to a trade show, you're going to come across a company that's got slick salespeople that have got great marketing, and they're going to say it's the best tool for XYZ industry. But really, it's probably they've taken a couple put together. Heavily evaluate them. Look for systems, not tools. Look for people who have built very robust tool sets that are able to help drive your EBITDA, help drive your cost, time savings, and everything. So that's my best advice. I am going to open it up here to take some questions. While you're thinking about what questions, I want to say, the goal isn't necessarily you have the best tool out there and installed. The goal is to have the best outcomes. And I like to do it with the fewest tools possible. But again, I also like to have redundancy and have an eye at what is next. So it is one of those. I kind of waffle back and forth, but I will say that by going for the outcomes, I love going after the outcomes. That's something we look at very closely with healthcare companies. It's things we look for in fraud prevention and in finance. We love to come up with those tools that are going to give us the ability to work 24 hours a day without having to work 24 hours a day. Let the systems work overnight. Let us take a little bit of rest. But it looks like we have some questions coming here. I'm going to take just a second and read over them. But it looks like we do have some good questions coming in here. Again, just hit them on the chat. If you have any questions you don't want to put here in the live, feel free to email sales@wte.net. Set up some time with me. I'm happy to talk. I love talking about AI all the time.